Hello, partners. You are listening to the Gerry Anderson Podcast. I hope you enjoy it.
You are listening to an Anderson Entertainment production.
Oh, this episode. We don't really know what we're doing because we haven't got scripts.
No, not today. Do we have a randomizer? Do we have an audience?
Great.
Do we have FAB Facts?
Maybe. That's all coming up at the Gerry Anderson Podcast Live!
Let's get started.
Sing along if you know the words.
Let's go.
Spectrum is green.
The Gerry Anderson Podcast with Jamie Anderson and Richard James.
Chris Dale. Well.
Terrahawks, stay on this channel.
Well, it's all going swimmingly so far.
As smoothly as you might hope from the Gerry Anderson Podcast. My name's Jamie Anderson. I'm joined here today by...
Oh, I'm Richard James. And you are?
We're also joined by, sitting over there, doing very little, actually.
Yeah, for a change.
Hello. It's Chris Dale.
Hey.
And you may also notice a couple of other special guests. Would you like to intro them, Richard James? Or
Yes, well...
let them intro themselves, if you like.
Immediately behind me is the only title character from a Gerry Anderson series that we have with us today. It's Captain Scarlet himself, Wayne Forrester! S.I.G. And do you want to introduce your uncle, who seems to have wandered in?
Yes. This is Uncle Rubbish. No, this is Lee Sullivan, who you all know and love.
Thank you, Neff.
Illustrator extraordinaire and a jolly hilarious toy sniffer. I'm sure lots of you will remember his toy sniffing antics from Pod 3.
Oh, I don't know. I never know. Why you ask me?
Not me.
Now, it's a little bit odd because we're not sure whether this one is going to go out on Monday, because that's quite a quick turnaround, isn't it, Ben? Or the week after. So this is either Pod 201 or Pod 202. Is that right?
Your maths is excellent.
Thank you very much. Thank you. It's just my presenting skills that the issue, is it?
I think that'll be a problem for both of us, Richard. Anyway, we'll be doing all the usual...
Oh,
Yes,
well done.
they're
Yes.
starting to get the thing.
They are,
So
they are.
please do play along and join in with all the key phrases that
Yeah.
you know and love,
Yeah.
including things like Gubbins. And Richard will now describe to you what's coming up in this episode.
Well, we have all the usual. So we'll have, I guess, a news section, which we commonly know as the Gerry Anderson News, or... we'll also have, well, I suppose, guest interviews with Wayne Forrester and Lee Sullivan. We'll be coming to you to put your questions to them. So if you have anything you'd like to know about Lee that's not too contentious, or about Wayne, then have a think and I'll come to you and you can ask them a few questions later. We've got Chris Dale's amazing randomizer! Yes, His Holiness, the Randomiser himself is here. All hail the Dale. What are we going to get today? We don't know because it's random. It's random, isn't it?
Totally random.
It is random. And there's something else I've forgotten that normally happens about the beginning of the programme, but I can't.
Hey.
I suppose we ought to have FAB Facts as well. Have I missed anything out?
No, that
I've got
is-
some emails as well. I've got some emails, of course, because our lovely Podsterons, as well as being here in the audience with us, have been emailing in at...
.co.uk. Are you in a time warp?
Yeah.
We're all .com now.
That's so last century. Can I just ask, before we go any further, is there anyone here who has never listened to the Gerry Anderson podcast? I'm so sorry. This must make no sense to you at all. But just look as if you're enjoying yourself. That's all I can say. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's about it, isn't it?
That is it. That's
Yeah.
normally the bit where
Yeah.
you now take the mickey out of me because I like doing the next section. So
Oh.
should we do that next section?
Go on, then.
Everybody loves it. It's Fab Facts.
Now, time for this week's Fab Facts.
Now, actually, I'm going to just stop you there, Jamie, because I know, and you know, don't you, Podsterons, that this is the part of the show where normally Jamie flicks through a book of Fab Facts, whereupon I shout out the word. Jamie asks me if I'm ready, and I say, all ready. I mean, that's very good. That's very high-level play, isn't it, going on down there? In fact, look, that was so prompt. I'm going to give you a 5-star 5 T-shirt. How about that? There you go. There you go. And I can tell you, you're only getting that because I got that for free as well. Oh, yes. But now I'm going to just shake things up a little bit today because I thought, well, wouldn't it be fun, rather than having a Fab Fact from the Gerry Anderson universe, wouldn't it be interesting if I were to embarrass Jamie Anderson with a Fab Fact of my own about him? Is that okay, Jamie?
Not really, no.
Well, I've been doing a little bit of research and I came across this particular story, so let's see if this rings any bells.
Is this a PG story?
Yeah, just about, yeah. Now, so I think we've all been in a position, haven't we, where we've spent some time talking to someone famous without quite knowing who they are. But how's this for embarrassing? Now, we all know that Jamie and his dad before him were heavily involved with raising funds for dementia charities. Well, at a Christmas event, to help raise money for the cause, Jamie found himself introduced to a rather nervous-looking young lady who he'd apparently met before and had been asked to sing as part of their Christmas choir. "Hello," said Jamie kindly. "How are you?" "I'm feeling terrible," the young woman replied. "I'm so nervous that I've been sitting in my car in the car park, literally crying on the phone to my mum with fear because I have to sing." Well, trying to cheer her up, Jamie thought he'd offer some words of wisdom to the young lady. "Oh, don't worry," he said. "We're all behind you. It's all for a great cause. I'm sure you're not used to appearing in public, but you'll be fine. No, just take a deep breath and try not to think about all those people watching. I know it can be a bit intimidating when you're not used to being in the limelight." Well, the young woman gave him a very strange look and was then called away to play her part in the proceedings, being introduced by the compere as BAFTA and Critics' Choice Award-winning, twice Oscar-nominated, the internationally renowned Hollywood actress, Carey Mulligan. Jamie, how do you plead?
Guilty but prepared to retaliate.
What?
We all have our sources, Richard. Now, Podsterons, we all know Richard James as the mild-mannered, butter wouldn't melt in his mouth co-host of this very Gerry Anderson podcast. But did you know that according to a certain Space Precinct director, he's an absolute dunce? In fact, that isn't even the word that he used, but I had to tone it down for you today. In fact, it's the worst name you can ever call someone in polite company. As you know, Richard played Officer Orin in Space Precinct, and he never mentions that, so I, understand if you didn't know that already. He's often mentioned to me how lucky he was to get the part and how grateful he feels for his year's work at Pinewood in the 1990s, but clearly by the end of that year, he was getting a little blasé about playing a prominent and regular role in the most expensive TV series of the time. You might know that actors are often presented with script amendments in the days before shooting a scene, and sometimes even on the day itself. They're normally distributed by the third assistant director, and it's up to the actor to look at the new scenes and learn any new lines that they might have been given. Well, by the time he came to shoot the last episode of the series, Death Watch Part 2, it seems Richard wasn't really taking things very seriously at all. When it came to filming a particular part of the episode in the station house, Richard suddenly realised that he was literally not in the same page as the rest of the cast. Turns out that Richard received his script amendments the day before, but thinking they wouldn't apply to him, he ignored them completely. You can imagine that if an actor doesn't know his lines, that slows things down. It slows the whole process down, costing the production time and money. By now, tempers among the cast and crew were clearly fraying, so you'd hope that Richard would hold his hands up and admit his mistake and apologise profusely. But no! In fact, he blamed the third assistant director, Paul Morris, claiming that he'd never been given the amendments in the first place. Suffice it to say that the veteran director, Piers Haggard, saw through this straight away and in front of the whole crew called Richard a lazy dunce. Richard James, how do you plead?
Guilty as charged. I mean, it was a long time ago. Yeah, I've changed. I've grown up a little bit. But I would like to apologise to Paul Morris. I bet he listens all the time, our third AD.
Yeah.
Yeah, do you remember Paul? Yeah.
Probably got sacked.
Oh.
And it's your fault. On your head be that.
I hadn't thought of that. Anyway, yeah.
Wow. Well, that's tit for tat, isn't it?
Yeah, yes, I think I got my just desserts, which might as well bring us to the end of this week's...
We sort of managed that, didn't we?
Yeah, I mean, it is live, isn't it? Now, can I just say a few words before we carry on?
Okay.
Not necessarily for the people in the room, but for the people at home. But you're listening to the Gerry Anderson Podcast. And you can do something very nice for us. You can subscribe to us on whichever channel you're listening to us on. You can leave us a nice review or a rating, or as we call it, a... There you go. Even that's a catchphrase. And you can also copy the link and share it on all your socials so other people get to hear us too. Now, I think it's about time that we heard from our lovely guests here. Who've
I agree.
The trouble
They've been
to come
sitting
join us.
patiently listening to us
Yes.
embarrass each other.
Yes. Does anybody here have a question for either Wayne Forrester or Lee Sullivan? So we're talking Captain Scarlet, we're talking comics, we're talking Gerry Anderson, Doctor Who. Yes, here we are. Here's a question here.
This one is for Wayne Forrester. Hello, Wayne. I seem to remember your voice being in the UK dub of an obscure preschool cartoon called Wow Wow Wubsy. I think you were the voice of Walden.
Yes,
what
I
was
was.
that like?
Oh, I think Walden spoke a little bit like that, didn't he? Yes, I remember him. Wow, well done. Yes, I did, yeah. I used to go down to Gloucester and dub all these cartoons that they had original American, sort of voice recordings on them. But we'd record hundreds and hundreds of them. Yeah, Wow Wow Wubsy, and I can't remember the other. We did Lunar Jim as well. That was another one that we did. I can't remember. Can you remember?
Now, Wayne, can I ask, when you're doing these voices...
Yeah.
Hi, Richard James, sorry.
Oh, hello, Richard.
Gerry Anderson Podcast.
I recognise you.
Yes. How much sort of say do you get given on that voice, or are you prodded and poked by a director to give a certain character voice, or do you generally sort of come up with it and just go from there?
Well, when you're sort of doing an English version of an American script, then you kind of pick the sort of quality of voice that is in the original, and then sort of adapt it to, kind of British version. But when you're doing a cartoon from the beginning, then they'll have chosen you because of the audition that you did.
Yeah,
so that they'll usually go with that.
Yeah. And of course, my children will know and always love you as Roly Mo and Rocket the Frog from the Thimbles, of course, if you remember that.
Does anybody remember Roly Mo and Rocket the Frog?
Of course we do.
One person.
Yes.
Oh, hello there.
There was another question over here, wasn't there? Now, are you able to sort of join me halfway? Or are you going to shout? It's up to you. I'll stretch over. Bear with us. Here we go.
So the first one's to Wayne. When you created the voice for the new Captain Scarlet series as the captain himself, did you take inspiration from like the original actors that the original voice was based on, or did you try to create your own idea?
And do you have another question as well? Let's have that as well now.
Towards Lee, love your work on the Rivers of London. Have you just been given like full creative control when you're designing everything on there, or have you been working really closely with Ben and he's like, no, I don't like that?
Okay, Wayne, do you want to answer yours first?
Yeah,
or
well,
come to Lee?
originally when Gerry spoke to me about the voice, he offered me the part because he thought I sounded taller than I looked. By the way, he said that. He wanted a voice that was neither English nor American, something in between, something mid-Atlantic. And I think that Francis Matthews did a kind of Cary Grant impression, didn't he? Which has sort of straddled the Atlantic. So I kind of just sort of softened my vowels a little bit. Thought American, but spoke English, and he seemed to like that. Yes, thank you.
And Lee?
Well, jumping into a completely different genre. Rivers of London is a comic book series I was working on for about 3 or 4 years. And it was written by Ben Aronovich and Andrew Cartmel, both of them Doctor Who alumni. They would be in the Sylvester McCoy kind of years. Yes, there's a whoop. There's a lonely whoop.
Sophie Aldred's in.
A lonely whoop. They were really good actually. When we were setting the thing up, it takes place obviously in London, I guess, from the title you can work that out. But the characters were all very, very heavily defined in people's minds already because they'd been reading novels, and these were comic book extensions of the novels, really. So I had a bit of an uphill struggle with creating the characters, because I knew that the audience would all have a completely different idea of what each one of them looked like, and they were casting things that people would do on the internet, suggestions and so on. But really, no, they gave me complete carte blanche to do whatever I liked, except for Peter. Peter's the central character. Ben and I exchanged drawings with Ben, and he kept sending them back saying, no, a little bit less like this, and so on and so forth. And it was a long process. We arrived at one. It was great. Everybody was approving of it. I then went and drew the first cover, and it was completely different. It just came out the way he came out. Everybody liked that as well, so it was fine. But no, there were no tantrums. Well, at least not from them.
It's just from you. Yeah. Any other questions before we move on? Right at the back. Very good. Here we go. Who's this?
Hello, I'm Emily. So I've got also some questions for both Wayne and for Lee. So for Wayne, since because you voiced old Captain Scarlet and you voiced like the new Captain Scarlet, so like would you say that there's any major differences between like how you portray both of them, or do you think there's some similar common similarities between the two of them? And for Lee, I would ask, like, are there any Gerry Anderson properties that you haven't like drawn or done comics for that you think you'd like to?
Interesting. I voiced old Captain Scarlet for the Spectrum Files. Is that right? Yeah. That was quite hard to do. I felt a burden of responsibility there to everybody who remembers that. So it was harder to do that. It was obviously easier to do new Captain Scarlet. But I think the characters are essentially the same. I think. I just think with the new Captain Scarlet has just a little bit more of a kind of modern thought process. I think there's a little bit more kind of, I don't know. I mean, it's informed by more modern films, maybe James Bond, that sort of thing. But it was great fun to try and do the original voice as well. Those stories are great.
Do we have any classic Captain Scarlet fans in? Yeah. And what about new Captain Scarlet? Is it a similar amount? Yeah, there we go. Well,
it's
equal
a bit of a
showing.
split, but still lots of people. Now, Lee, be very careful what you say with this answer.
Oh, you see, that's very tempting, isn't it? With my reputation. Thank you. The thing is that I grew up watching the series about the right age for each one. So I was about 2 or something when Supercar was on, and 3 and 4 when Fireball turned up, and then I went through all of them. Now, happily, I've drawn Thunderbirds as a comic strip in the Thunderbirds magazine or comic. I can never remember which one it was called. In the 2000s. But that wasn't quite what I wanted to do with it, because I'd seen the TV21 stuff, which was beautifully drawn by all the artists involved. So I thought, it's a bit of a shame. I'd kind of missed my chance to do a proper version of any of them, really. But the one that I had most, I suppose, attachment to now is particularly Mike Noble's version of Fireball XL5, which I love with a passion. And through sheer strangeness, I got to meet and know Mike quite well, and we worked together a little bit. That was fantastic. And then I had the opportunity recently to look at possibly doing something
Yes. Is that about
along the
far as
lines
we can go?
of thank you, sir. I'm glad I didn't. You've taken the responsibility away from me. Yeah, there's something happening. A fireball something is happening.
Wow.
Is that a good enough?
You get out of the lawsuit because somebody else said the time. But yes, yeah, there is something happening because it's Fireball's 60th anniversary this year, so that sort of makes sense, doesn't it? So there you go. There's a podcast exclusive.
Oh, we like those, don't we? We love a podcast exclusive. It's great. Do you want some emails, or do you want to head on to some, news?
Oh, should we let the Podsterons vote?
Oh, all right. Hands up if you'd like some emails. Let's see them. Hands up if you'd like some hashtag news. Well, I think that's a clear winner. Off
It
you
looks
go.
like the news is the winner, so let's have some Gerry Anderson news.
Now, I just have to say, start your warm-up, because obviously you will be expected to join in with the final vocals at the end of the news, okay? So a few humming exercises, make sure you're on pitch, like I always am.
Yes, you've got a lot to live up to based on Richard's previous 100 or more singings of That Was the News. But first, let's have some Gerry Anderson news. Excellent, thank you very much. You're in fine voice. Now, I know lots of you are probably here for Standby for Action, is that right? Well, by the time you hear this, Podsterons who weren't at the live podcast, Standby for Action has been and gone, and it was a tremendous success!
Oh, apart from that bit where that bloke dropped his cello, that was hilarious.
Yeah. Cello Gate will forever be talked about. But as we mentioned before, the soundtrack will soon be available to pre-order as CD and vinyl, I believe. A double vinyl, a lovely gatefold vinyl, plus DVD and Blu-ray. And if you did miss out, then you can also get the souvenir program until the print run runs out from shop.gerryanderson.com. Now, lots of you who've also been here, I suspect, for Gerry Anderson, A Life Uncharted. So we have more and more cinema bookings coming up, so no matter where you are in the country, you will hopefully get a chance to see it. Future dates include the 4th of May at the Cube Bristol, the 5th of May at the Picture House Uckfield, the partner cinema of this one, the 18th of May in Glasgow, venue TBC, 21st of May, Northern Farm in Maidenhead. The 10th of July, Captain Scarlet Day, Chapeltown in Manchester. The 23rd of July, number 8 in Kershaw. And all of those will have Q&As with me and the director, Benjamin Field. So we'd love to see you there. I can't believe somebody's ringing me right now. I'm not going to talk. It could be dangerous.
Is it Nicholas Briggs?
Probably Nick Briggs, yeah. He's always bothering me, that bloke. So we're also working on a DVD and Blu-ray release for A Life Uncharted. So you'll be able to own it, and it does look beautiful. It was shot in 4K, so that Blu-ray is going to look absolutely fantastic. And there are some extras available on BritBox. There is a behind-the-scenes making of mini documentary, which is basically me and Ben messing about for 25 minutes. But it's, it might be vaguely interesting if you've got nothing better to do. Also on BritBox right now, Gerry Anderson, the Uncharted episodes. Intros made by our very own podcast producer, Ben Page. Great work, Ben. And those are some very, very special bits of audio that didn't make it into the documentary, but basically put some context to how Dad was inspired to create various shows and various stories, and how you see direct reflections of those from his real life made fiction. So I highly recommend you check them out. Also, you can watch The Lost Worlds of Gerry Anderson on BritBox now, which I'm sure you'll all be rushing to watch The Investigator immediately after this recording. Nobody will. There are some other secret bits and pieces in development I wish I could now mention, but because it's being recorded, I can't. But I might mention it to you after we're done, so those who weren't here will have terrible FOMO, and because you're here, you might know something secret at the end of the recording. However, because this is a live one, I think we should probably wrap this one up. So...
Okay, so is Ben ready with the final sting? You are? Okay, let's listen out and join in when you can.
So that's the end of this week's Gerry Anderson News.
Very good. Very good. Wow. I mean, it's a sad thing, really, isn't it? Obviously, it's wonderful, Jamie, that your dad has left behind this wonderful legacy of programmes that have entertained generations for over half a century, and my legacy is a room full of people singing, "That was the news, that was the news." How did that happen? Now, I just want to do this because Roger Smith, who you might know, who's down here in the front row, has 2 tickets here available to see Thunderbirds Are Go in this very cinema later this afternoon, pretty much straight after the podcast, if anyone wants them for free. There are 2 tickets in the sofas at the back there, so does anyone want them? Put a hand in the air if you do. Yes, they are.
There we go.
There you go. Well done, and thank you, Roger, for that. There you go. Look, you can pat him on the shoulder and say thank you very much.
Yes,
perfect.
Thank you, Roger.
Good, well done.
Oh, shall I mention Roger's lovely gift?
I think you should mention Roger's gift. Is that okay, Roger? Yes, of course.
Yes. Now we can't get this out because it's too fragile, but we may have a few minutes at the end of this just to have a very quick look. Although Kevin may throw us out, which is totally understandable. But Roger has very kindly made this incredible tribute. Richard,
I haven't broken it. I haven't.
He's made this incredible broken tribute. No, it's not broken, Roger.
It's just as well it's not live, isn't it?
Amateurs. Goodness me. No, he's made this incredible tribute to Lionel. Now, if you've seen the film A Life Uncharted, you will know the true, deep and meaningful aspects of Lionel's life and sadly his death, which went on to inspire so much of the stuff that we all love. And Roger has beautifully researched this. So we've got a Defiant on the right-hand side, which is the aircraft that Lionel flew initially, and a Mosquito on the left. He's even gone to the trouble of researching the registration numbers, and then this lovely tribute in the middle with the Star of David and the 515 Squadron emblem. It's beautiful, and I'm extremely grateful, Roger. It's a lovely thing to do. So let's give Roger a hand for this lovely thing.
That's right. I think I got away with it, Roger. I think I got away with it. It's all right. It's a lovely thing. Now, I've got some emails. Do you want to hear some emails? Because, of course, our Podsterons have been emailing. In fact, they did ask over on the Facebook group. Anyone here a member of our Facebook group? There they all are. Look, there they all are. Nice to put some faces to some names, isn't it? And I asked them if they weren't, some of them are lovely Podsterons, if they weren't able to join us today, maybe they wanted to send us a message. And I've only gone and heard from Terry Adlam. Terry says, I can't do... You can do a very good Terry. Do you want to read it out? No?
I mean, is it cruel?
No. Do you want me to do it? I can't do Terry. Hi all, he says, the pun and only Terry Adlam here. He says, I'm sorry I can't be with you this weekend, but it seems that my local police force are a bit short-staffed in their call centre, as they've asked me to go down to the station and help with their inquiries. He says, that's a joke, but it will be when it grows up. The reason I can't be with you all is because I can't stop singing songs by Dean Martin, Frank Sinatra and Michael Bublé. I think it's croonavirus. Oh, God. I mean, he goes on like this for ages. I'll cut to the chase. Anyway, he says, I hope you all have a great evening listening to Phil Harmonic and his orchestra bashing out all the Gerry Anderson hits, such as Twizzle and Shout, Hey Joe 90, and Party Like It's Space 1999. Relight my Fireball XL5. You're the fab one that I want. Captain Scarlet and the Mr. Ron Do Ron Rons. And, of course, not forgetting Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. Gee, I didn't even prepare for that. I hear there will be no Dick Spanner theme, but I guess that was just another dumb movement. Now, not many people know, says Terry, that I actually played in an orchestra once until I fell into a drum kit. I wasn't knocked out, but I did suffer from mild percussion. On a serious note, B-flat minor 12th diminished with chips, I hope you all have an FAB weekend and evening celebrating all things Gerry Anderson. I haven't seen the documentary yet, says Terry, as I can't get it where I am at the moment. Well, he will when it comes to Maidenhead. That's my local.
Yes,
we can come along together. Yeah. But at the moment, he says, I'm in the bath. However, I would like to congratulate Jamie, Richard and Chris and the team on presenting 201 podcasts without being caught. And finally, he says, the last live orchestra I went to see was the Bermuda Sinfonia Orchestra at the Albert Hall, but the evening was cancelled as the triangle player had gone missing. Cheers from Terry. I mean, he's good value. He's good value. I mean, even Lee doesn't bring gags like that, does he? Wayne might.
You wait. Not ones that he can repeat now.
Yeah. Matty Keskavari, these are all names that you all know and love, of course, says, hi, Jamie, Richard, Chris, and all of my fellow Podsterons. I hope you all have a great Gerry Anderson day. I celebrated by listening to the Captain Scarlet and Space 1999 Year 1 soundtracks, reading a bit of Thunderbird's Peril in Peru, and, of course, watching FAB live. I'm sorry I can't be there with you for this wonderful occasion, so please have a fantastic time on my behalf. FAB from Finland. That's from Matty. Say hi, Matty.
Hi, Matty.
Jamie, I'd just like to send you my thanks and gratitude, and undoubtedly that of many thousands of fans too, for making the documentary A Life Uncharted, says Dave Bird. Benjamin Field made an outstanding film on Gerry's life that was extremely honest and very moving. His life is remarkable and fascinating, as well as creatively inspirational. I treasure fond memories of watching Gerry's shows when I was a child, and now I'm reliving them through your hard work and dedication by Richard, Chris, and your enthusiastic team. The room appeared a little smoky by the end of the documentary, and the empathy I experienced reinforces the quality of production. This film is truly a great achievement, and the fans will be, and of course are, grateful for this wonderful documentary. I think Gerry will be very proud of what you've created. A heartfelt thank you, best wishes from Dave. Say thank you, Dave.
Thank you, Dave.
Now, who here has seen the documentary Life Uncharted and are willing perhaps to share a few thoughts on the microphone? You don't have to by any means. No, that's absolutely fine. Yes. Yeah, come on. Let's tell us what your thoughts were. Did you see it here in...
Richard, remember how this went on Fab Live?
Oh, yes. Well, I thought it was going to be rubbish, but no, you say whatever you like.
So I managed to see it at the BFI. It was amazing. Very tearful. I warned everybody, you need tissues. I loved it. The editing was amazing, and I learned things I've never learned before, so it's been amazing.
Wow.
Sorry.
That is a fantastic review.
Well
Can we print it on the poster? Thank you. That's lovely. Really lovely. Thank you.
Jamie, I'll ask, was it a cathartic experience for you? Not just the process of making it, but watching it, and particularly watching it with a live audience. Was that a cathartic experience for you in a way?
Yeah, it's one thing putting the story down on film, on digital, and watching it back yourself, but then having other people see it and connect with it. And even last night, some of you I can see here who were down, and I know you were clearly touched with it, which again is very touching to me, because there are so many shared things that we all experience, particularly the last third or so where we deal with Alzheimer's, etc. But also just loss and tragedy and difficult childhoods and all that kind of stuff. So I think there's stuff that connects with everyone. And it's just really nice for me to get the feeling that you guys know Dad as a person. It's not just Gerry Anderson, the producer or the creative. It's Gerry Anderson, as he says, the very human being.
Anyone have any questions about the documentary? Anything you want answered or any thoughts? Yeah.
Okay, this is probably going to sound a little bit controversial.
Right, anyway, it's time for...
Oh.
I'm joking. That's a joke.
So, I saw some clips of the trailer, I think it was. Am I right in thinking that it was Roberta Lee who said that Gerry was supposedly a very evil man? What made her say that?
Oh, well, I can let you in on a little secret there. That was a story that we had to cut for time. Do you want to know why she said it was evil? They don't sound that enthusiastic. We'll move on. No. So allegedly, and this is allegedly, and we didn't hear it from anyone else, and we did ask around quite a few people, Dad and Roberta Lee didn't get on terribly well. There was a clip where she said nobody would give him any work because he was an avowed communist, which I don't know where she got that from. But allegedly, at the end of shooting of one block, I think of Twizzle, it may have even been Torchy, she visited the studio at Islet Park for lunch, and they were all going to go down the road to the pub lunch, and she was in the studio looking around when suddenly all the lights went off and the door was bolted. Now, she says she was left there in the dark and the cold for 2.5 hours while everyone went for lunch, and then they came back and go, "Oh, Roberta, we didn't know you were in here. We're so sorry." I have no other verification for that story, but that is one of the reasons she described him as an evil, evil man, and it was in a cut of the doc that had to be removed for time, sadly.
That does remind me, Wayne. Do you remember on Space Precinct, because we were playing alien characters for the most part, and so we had very limited vision in these masks, and very often we'd be doing a scene and we'd come to the end of it and you'd hear cut, and then you'd be waiting for, I don't know, the makeup people to come and touch up the eye or, comb the hair or whatever, and you'd be sitting there and waiting and waiting and waiting, and then you'd look around trying to see through these tiny little slits that you had for your vision, and everyone else had gone to lunch. That happened a lot. I think it's because we were in those masks, they didn't see us as, real people, real props almost.
Do you remember when there was a director that was giving one of the actors notes, and he was playing a tarn, I think, and Lindsay switched the remote off, and the eyes closed, and the director went, "Are you listening to me?"
I mean, out of all of us here, Wayne, you've worked with Gerry the most, from Space Precinct to New Captain Scarlet, and also, of course, you did the Thunderbirds tour as well, which I know wasn't a Gerry Anderson production as such, but was inspired by him. Did you get a sense of the man when you worked with him, or was it not quite that complicated?
Well, I was lucky to go to Miami with Gerry to promote Space Precinct, Space Police it was at the time, which it was me and Gerry and the late Richard Gregory, just the three of us, and that was remarkable, really. I mean, again, I spent most of the time kind of under latex, which is probably the safest place for me, actually. But we did have a lovely time, and we did have a chance to chat. But Gerry was, we all loved Gerry because he employed us. But he was very measured. I mean, always very thoughtful of what he said. We did kind of crazy shows together, like we did the Bruce Forsyth's Generation game together, which was surreal, because your dad didn't pull punches either, actually, during it, because they got Brucey got the audience got the contestants to do the puppet walk. We used to do the puppet show, and they didn't do it very well. And your dad, Bruce was going, "So how did they do it? They did very well. They did well, didn't they? Did well." And Gerry said, "No, it's terrible. It was just no. They're very, very heavy-footed. No, the puppets weren't like that at all." So yeah, I did get to know him fairly well.
Another email or two, or do you want to move on to something else? I don't know what that something else is. But
no, we haven't prepared anything, so do some more emails, and then I'm going to ask Lee something awkward or embarrassing.
Excellent.
Or unprepared.
Let's look forward to that. In the meantime, to our lovely Podsterons here in the Electric Cinema in Birmingham, we should give a shout out to the Electric Cinema in Birmingham for hosting us today.
Yes. It's the UK's oldest working cinema.
And I'm the UK's oldest working actor. Feels like it. Now, I should just say, actually, throughout this podcast, if you have a question at any time, just pop a hand up, and I'll come to you if I can, but be prepared to keep your hand up a while. So I've got another email here. This is from Emma Nichols, who says, "Hi, Jamie, Richard, and Podsterons. I can't be at the concert myself, but can I get a shout-out to my ex-boss, who is going to be at the concert with his mother-in-law, who's a big fan of anything Gerry Anderson. As for me, I'll be watching the rest of my DVD collection, except Joe 90.
Nice choice.
Too scary.
No.
Too scary.
She doesn't have to watch Show 90.
No. Anyway, I hope everyone has an FAB time at the concert, from Emma Nichols. Now, hi, Jamie and Richard, says Dave Lawson. I do hope that this weekend goes well for all of you and the Podsterons that are going. I really wanted to be there, but there were just too many obstacles, one of which is having to move again. Anyway, I got off lightly because Dave Lawson stayed with me the last time we did this live podcast. So anyway, he says, I enjoyed listening to the 200th podcast and then had a relaxed evening. Saturday night, I'm watching FAB live, but I look forward to hearing all about the wonderful times you and the Podsterons are having over the weekend with the concert and live podcast. Enjoy, FAB, SIG, from Dave Lawson. Say hello, Dave. Hello, Dave. Bonza. Wow, this is power. This is, isn't it?
It's feeling borderline xenophobic.
Yeah.
There.
Oh, okay, fair enough. I'll row back on that then. Miles Parrish says, hi, Richard and Jamie. I'm a couple of pods behind. Now, there's a question. Who of you here has listened to every single podcast? Don't be shy. Quite a few of you. How many of you are quite a way behind? Yeah. See, I reckon we could probably get away with doing one a month.
Shall we? We'll just change it up to one a month.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh. Oh, yes, we will. Right. Miles says, yes, he's a couple of pods behind due to the arrival in Australia of my lovely partner from Liverpool. And he says, I still do manage, though, a bit of Gerry Anderson for the Gerry Anderson Day festivities. I stayed up until 1:30 in the morning to tune into Fab Live, the first time I've tuned into it live. It was great to be part of the conversation and see it all unfold. Later this weekend, I'm looking forward to watching a few episodes of Space Precinct. He's the one. He's the viewer. That's my royalties paid for the next year, then. He says it's lovely to know that there are still Gerry Anderson shows left for me to discover. I'd love to be there this weekend to attend the live podcast and concert, but it's lovely to know, yes, that I can't be there. Oh, I can be there in a small way through listening to the podcast later, and as always, through the lovely podcast Facebook group. Also, he says, I'm counting down for the recordings of the concert as well. As I write this, I'm sitting in a stadium where my Australian Football League team is 4 goals behind. Too much information, I think. So you're bringing me joy, even in these darkest of moments. Have an amazing weekend, each and every one of you. All the best, Miles Parrish. Say hi, Miles.
Hi, Miles.
Now, I would like to give a shout-out to the lovely Podsterons from the Facebook group. Lots of you here, I know. A big thank you to you, particularly, oh my God, over the last couple of dreadful years. I know you've all been working so hard to keep each other on the straight and narrow with games and questions and competitions and streams. Big shout-out to Luna, who can't be here today, and of course the lovely Willow, who is here today. You know, the internet and Facebook in particular is sometimes a dangerous place to lurk. But our Podsterons Facebook group, nothing to do with us, I have to say, is a delight and a lovely place to spend some time. So thank you all, Podsterons.
Here.
Absolutely. There you go. Have you thought of a rude question for Lee yet?
It's not rude. Well, it sort of is. Why are you here? No, by which I mean... A new Anderson show has not been made since 2005. You fell in love with these shows in the early 60s, and yet you've trekked across to Birmingham from glamorous Luton, I don't know why anyone would ever leave there, to be here, to sit up here with us and then come to the concert. What keeps you interested? Why?
The lovely Podsterons. See, now, let's do that again. The lovely Podsterons! Thank you. Okay, because it never goes away, the whole Gerry Anderson thing, I thought I was free of this stuff when I was about 21.
Tell me about it.
And I had started throwing things away and got rid of all my TV21s, and I know. And then about 10 years later, I started to think, that was a mistake. And because the stuff goes in when you're very young, and it just stays with you, and it kind of gets even more magical the further away you get from it, I think, in a way. I still love it, and that's why we're all here.
What a lovely answer. That is lovely. I'm just going to throw the similar thing to Wayne. Obviously, Wayne, you're looking at it from a different perspective because you work with Dad.
Yeah. Oh, thank you.
And yet you're still here now, unfortunately, working for me. Sorry about that.
Yeah,
and having to do more voices than ever before,
I know.
often in the same production.
Very true.
So, again, you're delving back into the world of Thunderbirds and Captain Scarlet and others.
Yeah.
And it keeps going. It's sort of an endless, perpetual goldmine. But
it's
why?
like a thread that's sort of run through my life, for so long, for 25, 30 years. Way back to when I was a child, the very first record I bought was the Thunderbird March. It was a little single vinyl. That was the first record I bought. Yeah. So then to be working, we did the stage show, Gavin Robertson, Andy Dawson stage show, Thunderbirds FAB, The Next Generation in the West End, and then we did a tour. We went to Australia, blah blah. Then came straight back from Australia into Space Precinct, which was brilliant. 9 months at Pinewood, dream come true, again with Gerry, and then Captain Scarlet. So, and now to work with the next generation, Jamie has been brilliant, mostly from my cupboard, actually. A lot of us have been working from my cupboard. Not exciting studios, from cupboards, which has been great. We've turned the lockdown into a good thing. So all power to you and all power. By the way, have you done this is the voice of the Podsterons with everybody? Have you ever done that? Have you done that?
Not as a group, but I'm happy for you to lead that.
Group, you should do that, yeah? This is after 3, 1 of the go. So this is the voice of the Podsterons. 1, 2, 3. This is the voice of the Podsterons. Oh. We know you can hear us, Earthling. Very good, well done.
Absolutely lovely stuff, thank you. And I just love the continuity and the fact that these things stretch generations and getting generations in the audience. It's just a lovely showing. So thank you both, thank you for coming. Now, there's a thing that they've all been waiting for.
Yeah, well, that's why they're here, obviously. Not
the bar is open. No.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's not that. No, the thing you've all been waiting for, obviously, is him sitting over there. He's been sitting very quietly and peacefully. It's Chris Dale. Now, every week, he randomly chooses a random episode with the randomiser, and he watches it and says things. Oh, look, and he's got his own podcast where you don't have to listen to Richard and I. I'm sure lots of you subscribe to that, and you're probably thinking, who are these two idiots? More Chris Dale, please. Well,
this is my show, damn it. Why are you guys here?
Absolutely. Well, your wish has come true because it's now time for this week's Randomiser.
Yeah, it's no big deal pressing the button on the randomizer. Just anyone can do it.
Oh, no.
Yes. Ladies and gentlemen, the doors are now locked. Escape is impossible. You thought you were coming to Birmingham for a nice weekend of a concert, and bearing in mind we can't actually hear this, which is a good thing. That was all part of the plan. Yes, you are instead here to watch Torchy. Oh, I can hear something. There it is. Oh, dear. It is, yes. It does remind me of the opening of Captain Scarlet, and this is episode 1 of Torchy. I believe it's called The Evil Begins. Now, if you've seen the Torchy primer video that I did on YouTube a long time ago, yes, you will remember I say the show opens with a shot of a small boy humping a fence. And it's good to see they haven't removed that yet.
Lots of children played there and had such a wonderful time that they never went home until it was very late.
It's time to go home, children. Come along now. Good night, children.
See you bright and early tomorrow morning for another day of me staring at you creepily from the doorway. Oh, thank God they've gone.
Now then, where's my dog?
And here comes a child that he's glued a dog costume onto.
So there you are.
Right in front of me.
I suppose you want me to put your curlers in, eh? All right, then. Go and fetch them for me.
Pom-Pom makes a desperate bid for freedom.
Oh, my goodness.
My crotch is on fire.
Must have fallen into the pond. Well. Your hair has gone quite straight. But I wish you wouldn't make me put your curlers in. You're the only poodle in the world with straight hair. And that's why I love you.
If your hair was naturally curly, I wouldn't give you the time of day.
Pom-Pom, now, you needn't cry. I've put your curlers in, and you'll have frizzy hair in the morning.
This is where it all started, folks.
Stop, Barney.
Everything stems from here.
Stop it. Let's go to bed now.
I'll just leave this roaring fire. I'm sure it'll be fine.
Soon Mr. Bumbledrop and Pom-Pom were fast asleep.
The smell of the pond water she had fallen into somehow
moon
only
shone
improved
on
the
the
odour
little
of the
house.
bedroom.
And all was quiet and still.
And then a UFO that had slipped past moon-based defences crashed into the house.
But next morning, the children were playing and shrieking in the garden. All except one little girl, who was on her own. She was always stamping her feet and telling everyone what to do.
Hands up if
So
you
the
knew a little
children
girl
called
like
her
this when you
Bossy.
were a kid.
No.
Hands up if you were that little girl. One or two people, yes, thank you.
Or shall I drop her in the pond?
No, that's not a nice thing to do, Bossy Boots. Wouldn't you like to fly a kite instead?
I haven't got one.
Aha. But I can see some by that tree. Go and have a look.
They're directly
I
under
think
that
Bogey's
10-ton
already
weight.
found them.
Ooh, what wonderful kites. I'm going to take the biggest.
No, you're not. It's mine.
I can't imagine why Gerry Anderson wasn't keen originally to work with puppets. I mean, look at these beauties.
No, children. No fighting. There's a kite for each of you.
Soon all the kites were flying in the air.
Well, kind of. Oh.
What a stupid dog you are.
Oh, come on, she's the only character I like in this so far.
And send you up into the air.
I did it to my baby brother, so don't think I won't do it to you.
Tie our toys on the kites instead. Pom Pom was so upset that she ran back to her master.
But somehow that only made her feel worse.
What's the matter, Pom Pom?
I was busy having an out-of-body experience.
Oh, how terrible. The children have tied all their toys on the kites.
Just like they said they were going to do a moment ago, but somehow it's only just now registering with me.
You can't tell us what to do.
And normally you clearly
I'm
don't.
going to send my rag doll as high into the air as I can.
Come back, Pom Pom, or you're going to the air as well.
Whoa! The Century 21 sting has caused some kind of tornado effect. And sadly, there goes the show's only likeable character. Daffy the donkey is gone as well, the rag doll, and a baby that I don't recognise.
Good gracious.
That's the second
The
act of
kites
God
have
this
gone,
week.
And Pom Pom's gone too.
I don't care about your silly dog. We want our toys back. It's all your fault that we lost them.
It isn't my fault at all. Yes, it is, because you made the kites.
And we are not going to play in your garden anymore until you've found our toys. Come on, everyone.
Stop,
Let's
don't
go.
come back.
Oh, dear. Now I'm all by myself.
All by myself, don't wanna be
miserable
all
I'm going
by
to be.
myself.
Slowly the days pass.
And Mr. Bumbledrop
And Mr.
realised that getting rid of the
Bumbledrop
kids
grew
by losing their
lonelier
toys might just have been the bargain of the century.
If I weren't so old, I'd go and look for Pom Pom and all the toys.
But all the airlines have banned me from
I
flying,
wish I had a
so...
little boy of my own who would help me. Oh,
Uh-oh.
I've a wonderful idea.
Here it comes.
I'll make a toy boy.
It was the least wonderful idea in the
Make a
history of
toy
wonderful
who can
ideas.
Walk and talk and do all the things that real boys do. Now let me see. Let me see. I got it.
I'll ask
I'll
Satan.
put
He owes me a
torch
favour or
battery
two.
inside him, and when I press the switch, he'll come to life.
Ah, of course he will.
As the clock chimed 2, Mr. Bumbledrop started to make his toy boy.
Undeterred by the protests of the torch-wielding mob gathering
And
outside.
as the clock chimed 6, the toy was finished.
And the world
I've put a
prepared to
little
eat
lamp in
tears
the
of
middle
blood.
of your hat, and now I'll fix your battery.
And that'll have to serve as your soul until we can steal your
We
proper
do
one.
hope you work. There. There. Well, I never. My toy is coming to life.
Dear God in heaven, what have I done?
Hello, dear old Bumbledrop. I'm so glad you made me.
You see, I've been watching
I'm
over you
so
from the
glad
Dark
you're
Realm
alive.
for some time.
I want you to find the lost toys in Pom Pom the Poodle.
I want to unleash
I'd
1,000
love to
years of
help you,
darkness.
And I'll go right away.
You can't go until you've got a name.
You can call me...
Pazuzu.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Yes, but that's not a name. That's a number.
And you're not a
I'll
number,
look in
you're
my
a free
special
boy.
book and find a name for you.
It's the Bumble Drop walking theme. Clearly takes a lot out of
Oh
him.
dear. I can't see without me glasses.
Which is why
Where
I
are
never
they?
ever wear them for the rest of the series.
Find them for you. Magic beam that is so bright, will you shine your lovely light?
Oh, never mind, I found them.
Drop's glasses must be found, so please, magic beam, fly round and round.
The toy pressed the switch on his jacket, and there was a noise just like a blue bottle on the window pane.
Or a runaway
Light on the
nuclear
toy's hat
reactor.
grew brighter, and the beam danced across the room to the grandfather clock.
Burning everything in its path.
But the light was so strong that it shone right through the wooden door, and there were the glasses on the pendulum.
Oh,
I must have been really drunk when I did
splendiferous.
that.
You must have a magic beam.
Oh, isn't it wonderful?
No.
Torchy.
Oh no.
Torchy.
It's starting again. We're trapped in an eternal loop. Time has no meaning anymore. And the close-up does not help. It's interesting, though, that the first thing he does within a minute of being born is he's come up with a song about how brilliant he is.
Torchy, Torchy, the little battery boy. Torchy, Torchy, the battery boy. I'm
Join in
a
if you know the words.
walkie-talkie toy. Press my switch, see my bulb start to gleam.
You'd better get your hand off my knee.
What a wonderful song. And from now on, I'm going to call you Torchy.
Do you want me to look for anything else?
Or carry out
All I
vengeance
want
on
you
those
to
who've
do
wronged you,
is
perhaps?
find Pom-Pom and the toys. And your beam isn't magic enough for that.
I'll be introducing you to the fireplace pretty darn sharpish.
Torchy pressed the switch on his jacket, but his beam didn't shine.
Right, fireplace with you.
It's gone wrong.
Maybe you have to ask your magic beam a question before it'll work.
I mean, I'm just the guy who created you. I don't know how the heck you work.
Is so bright, will you shine your lovely light on Pom-Pom and the toys? Where can they be? Please, little beam, will you show them to me?
Anyone looking forward to this in HD, by the way, when the Blu-rays come
See if
out?
it will work this time.
Sure enough, Torchy's magic beam began to work, and it shone into the sky, straight towards the twinkling star.
Summoning Batman in the process.
The star grew bigger and brighter.
By jingo! I can see Pom-Pom and the toys.
And they've been kidnapped by
You better
Pennywise.
switch off your light. You don't want to waste your battery.
Oh dear. Now I've turned off the light, the twinkling star has faded from the sky.
Never mind, Torchy. I'm afraid you won't be able to rescue the toys.
We'll have to call
They're
International Rescue. It's what I should have done in the first place.
Why don't you build me a rocket ship? Then I can fly there.
What a splendiferous idea.
Yes, a rocket ship will only cost me $1.5 billion. I'll get right on it.
Mr. Bumbledrop worked on the rocket all the next day.
Somehow
And late
managing
that
to accomplish in 12 hours what it took brains years to do.
Star right away and bring Pom-Pom and the toys back to you. Goodbye, Mr. Bumbledrop.
Goodbye, Torchy.
Remember, all this, building Torchy and the rocket, this is all in service of getting those ugly children back to his garden. It's not worth it. And the dog, that is very worth it, yes.
Very exciting to be in this rocket.
I wish I knew how to fly it. Oh, how hard can it be?
I wonder if the rocket will work properly. Be careful, Torchy.
Uh-oh.
Bye-bye, Mr. Bumbledrop.
Bye-bye forever. Oh, I've got to get out of here. Sparkler's on full. strings are providing a lot of the upward thrust here.
Faster and faster went the rocket into the sky, past the moon and up to the stars.
Alan, he's on a collision course with the sun.
He's going to have when he reaches the twinkling star.
Oh, a lot of fun he's going to have when he gets there. Well, having seen a few of his adventures, we all know that's not quite how it works. But anyway, there we go. That was the very first episode of Torchy the Battery Boy. And, you know, despite the fact that, it is what it is, it's important to remember that without this, we wouldn't have Thunderbirds, Stingray, Scarlet, UFO 1999, all the rest of them. So from such a twisted little acorn as this, wonderful trees did grow with some wonderful people's names attached there. So despite the fact that Torchy is not my own personal cup of tea, I do think it's always important to remember that this is where it all started. We owe Torchy a little debt of gratitude, not much, just a little. And there we go. Torchy episode 1, everybody. Now you know how it all started.
Lovely. Let's hear it one more time for Chris Dale's amazing randomizer. And who's straight off home to make their own little toy boy? No? Yeah. Now, I did see a couple of hands go up for some questions, if we're up for some questions before we carry on. There was one at the back here. I'm going to come behind you and pass it over to you, Lee.
Hello, Jamie. My name's Lawrence. It's not really a question. I just always said to myself, if I got to see you in person, I'd want to say thank you. First of all, thank you to your late, great father for making my childhood so magical. I grew up and started with Thunderbirds and then went on and backwards to the different series. I remember being at a convention, early 90s, I think it was, where I actually got your late father, Gerry, to hear him actually say he was proud of the work. I know some of the episodes left him a bit cold, because it was puppets. I think he wanted to be doing James Bond films and this sort of thing. I mean, please correct me if I'm wrong. But he actually said, do you know what? I don't think there was ever a show like it. And that was amazing to hear those words. It was my childhood. And now I'm pleased to say it's my grandson's childhood, Beckett. He's now 5 and he's got the toys, he's got all the craft. He's saying, come on, Grandad, you be Scott, I'll be Virgil, let's go and rescue something in the garden. Sorry, I'm a bit choked. That's absolutely amazing. And also thank you to you. You're continuing the legacy. As you said, there's been nothing new since 2005. But that's not true. You're bringing out audio stories. There's merchandise. You've tried to get new projects off the ground. There was new, Firestarter. Loved
Firestorm.
it.
Which is still bubbling along. These things take forever.
But, the amazing work that went into even that short piece of work. Thank you so much. You must be so proud that here we are 60 years later, that your father's work is engrossing everybody still, generation after generation and generation. And let's hope it goes on another 60 years. Absolutely amazing. Thank you so much. I think your late father was once described as the Walt Disney or George Lucas. I think he was better than them. Thank you very much.
Oh, Lawrence, thank you so much. That's lovely.
Lovely.
And I will just add to that, it's very gratifying for me to know that Dad's work and just the spirit of all things Anderson, from whatever point in the 60 years you pick them up, it lives on in the hearts and minds of all of you here. So, 110 hearts and minds, all carrying a bit of Dad and his work is really lovely for me. So just you coming along and obviously sharing stuff like that is always wonderful to hear. So thank you. But, without you guys, without Podsterons, without fans across the world, there'd be nothing for me to do. So thank you for enabling me to do that.
Hi, I just wanted to say I know that Gerry, through his career, didn't suffer from, but battled depression. And I know that he's not alone. I've battled it for many, many years, and so have a lot of people sitting here. I just wanted to say that thank you, both to your dad and to you, for the incredible entertainment and the incredible part. You've been part of my life for nearly 60 years. My depression has certainly been greatly helped by your dad's work and by the projects that are instigated from him, by yourself. I think creative people find a lot of creative people do battle depression, and I think that the creative success and creative input does help the situation, as does a sense of humour. And your dad had the most wonderful, sharp sense of humour, which was just marvellous. But a huge thank you to both of you, and to all the people who've worked on shows.
Absolutely. Thank you, Duncan. Well, it's a right love-in, isn't it? This is lovely. But that's part of the reason things like the Podsterons Facebook group and all that kind of stuff is so lovely, because I think everyone just shares the same sentiment. So yeah. Thank you, Duncan.
Yeah. And we have one here.
Oh, thank you very much. Right.
Uh-oh, he's standing.
Oh. 2 pounds of potatoes, some mince, and 4 rolls of toilet paper. Hold on. Dear Richard, Jamie, and Chris, and Wayne, and Lee Sullivan, I hope you're all keeping well, and I'll be at the concert a little bit later as well, so keep an eye out for me, winky face. Anyways, I'm writing to you on this fine day to ask you this. I seem to remember reading somewhere, I can't remember where exactly, but it may have been on, shall we say, the fan club that shall remain nameless, that the Secret Service was planned to be all live action at the start, but budgetary constraints meant that it became the live action Super Mario Nation hybrid we mostly know and love. Which brings me to my question. Do you lot think that the Secret Service would have worked a bit better, and perhaps have been a bit more successful, if it was all live action? SIG from Simpsons Clips 24. P.S. Can I say a big thank you to Chris Dale for agreeing to do some stuff for yours truly?
Thank you, Chris. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Firstly, thank you for that. You're very welcome for those. Regarding the Secret Service, I have heard on and off that it might have been planned to do it all live action to start with. But it's one of those things where one source says it and then another source says, oh no, it was always planned to be that. But I think if it had been all live action, it might have stood a slightly better chance than the sort of disjointed final product. I don't know if it would have been a runaway success. I don't think the concept is strong enough for that. But it couldn't have hurt.
Do you have any thoughts, winky face?
Winky face, I'm going to take that with me for the rest of my life. What thought about what? I can't. Secret Service was. I thought it was hugely funny. No, not intentionally, but there's some wonderful moments where you cut. There's this wonderful cartwheeling person. It's just fantastic. I loved it. I would have liked to seen a lot more of it. And of course, the thing is that when it was originally around, I couldn't see it anyway because it was only in various regions that it was shown. So it kind of held a real attractive kind of lure for me. So when I finally saw it, I was pleasantly surprised.
Much joy to the eyeballed. There was a question here, I think. Did someone have their hand up? Yeah.
Hi Jamie, it's Isla Whiteball Hyde here. One question, Space 1999. Now, back in the days when the rocket used to take 4 days to get to the moon, with the Eagle, how long would it take to get to the moon?
Oh, we estimated 11 hours flight time, approximately. I think maybe Chris Thompson was responsible for that. I'm going to blame him. Is that right, Chris? Or AC? There you go. See? There you go. So 11 hours. Richard, you mustn't ignore Pen up there, I've seen as well. The hand's been up for ages.
Hello, sorry.
Hi, everybody. I've got a comment which is more to do with the documentary. Jamie does know a bit about this, but when your dad died, I sent you an email which said, I've read somewhere that in Egyptian mythology, if when you died and you got to the gates of heaven, you were asked two questions. Had you had joy in your life? And had you given joy to others? Having seen the documentary now, I can now understand that maybe your dad didn't have much joy in his life until maybe the end with your mum and you. But you can certainly say, I mean, just judging from the room here, that he gave so much joy to so many other people. So I just want to say thank you for that.
Oh, lovely. Thank you, Pen. Thank you.
Hi, it's Steve with 3 E's.
Steve!
So I'd just like to carry on from what Richard said earlier, and I'd just like to say a few words about the Podders Arms. So this is a like-minded group of inclusive friends who meet on Saturday nights to discuss episodes, do quizzes, and generally have a fab time. I just want to say personally, thank you to you all for the help and support you give each other and myself. And special mentions to you all, including Rob, Doug, Tony, Simon, Simpsons, Jenny, Stephen, Rebecca, Pen, Kath, Squiddy, Luna, Paul, Lauren, Steve, Tessa, and there's someone else. Do you think I've missed anyone? And of course William. And of course Willow. And Simpsons. Yes. Willow, the chief podder wrangler, Willow, who puts an enormous amount of effort in each week to make the group go really smoothly. I am pleased to be a member of the Podders Arms. Thank you.
Oh, lovely.
Now,
thank you, Steve.
I've got a question that I'm dreading the answer, really. But is Phil Steer here? Ladies and gentlemen, Phil Steer! Well, I mean, it wouldn't be the Gerry Anderson Podcast without you, Phil, so thank you for gracing us with your presence. Will you be around to sign autographs later? Excellent, I hope so.
Yeah, so hopefully you'll all be joining us after this for the Phil Steer Podcast live.
Yep.
Following on immediately from this in the bar.
Yeah. Now, Jamie, how long have we got? Because I know we need to...
I think we're supposed to be finishing in 2 minutes, but I feel like that's not going to happen.
Well,
so
okay.
What can you do with that?
Then we don't have... let's just... I've got some emails, that's all we've got to hear. From Tom Hodden, who can't be here today. Yeah, lovely Tom Hodden, who says, good evening, Richard, Jamie, Chris, and to all the guests and Podsterons. I'm so sorry I'm unable to join you all for the weekend or to celebrate in person, but I'd just like to say how amazing it was to see the Podsteron community posting, tweeting, and sharing their love for all things Anderson during Gerry Anderson Day, and for a positive, welcoming, and inclusive fandom. I have to say, I was amazed at some of the big announcements made on Gerry Anderson Day, and I wonder how Jamie was able to keep them all secret. The new series of Secret Service with Daisy Ridley as Mother Unwin looks amazing. If a somewhat darker and grittier reboot than I expected, but she does have incredible chemistry with Samuel L. Jackson in the trailer. Yeah. Then, of course, there was the announcement from Big Finish of the prestigious audio drama Torchy vs. Twizzle, The Long and Bloody War. And I know all the buzz was about Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson starring in the supercar movie, but let's stop a moment and consider just how good Nick Briggs was with bringing such pathos to the role of Mitch. How can you not be excited for that? And then, of course, there was Richard's own announcement that his series of original Candy and Andy murder mysteries would be hitting the shelves by Christmas. But best of all...
Many a true word spoken in jest.
There we are, yes, I'm on it. But best of all, John Coleshaw, Ian McKellen and James Blunt heading in with a stage musical of Lavender Castle. Who would have seen that coming? Well, good luck, he says, and enjoy the weekend. And that's from Tom Hodden. Say thank you, Tom.
Thank you, Tom.
Now, I mean, I feel, having mentioned Tom Hodden,
Oh no.
Now, I'm going to let you into a little secret here. So every week we do a Quickfire 5, of course, and recently you may have heard that Tom Hodden has been sending us his Quickfire 5 questions for Jamie to answer. In fact, you're all welcome to do that because I ran out of ideas pretty quickly. So send them into podcast@gerryanderson.com if you have any ideas, but there have to be 5 of them, obviously. Now, a little secret is that when we come to do the 5-star 5 section, when I'm in my cupboard at home in the garage, I actually do the klaxon noise myself. But then ridiculously, it's sort of taped over by some professional-sounding klaxon. But this is what I do. I do this every week. Awooga! Now, so that means I'm going to ask you to do exactly the same thing. So when I announce it's time for this week's Quickfire 5, I'd like you all to give a very hearty awooga. Are you ready? It's time for this week's Quickfire 5! Here we go. Well, says Tom, congratulations. Your criminal career is off to a flying start with a good old-fashioned heist. So here we are in Las Vegas, about to rob a casino. Perhaps before you launch your intricate plan into action, we should go over the fine details once more. Number 1, first we need a distraction. Are you going to give Mitch a moped or throw Captain Scarlet off the roof? Say Mitch or Scarlet. Good, he says. Now, how do you intend to get into the elevator? Have Master Spy run his patent half-brick in a sock gambit? Or the Bringers of Light shout, look over there, is that Captain Scarlet falling off a rooftop? Say Master Spy or Bringers of Light. Now, get into the vault itself. Do you have Slow-Mo hacking the computers, or will Brains borrow the mole from International Rescue? Say Slow-Mo or Mole. Now, you need someone to infiltrate the security room and turn off the cameras, but who do you recruit? Is it the Hood, disguised as IT technician Elvis Presley, or Joe 90, programmed with the brain patterns of humble janitor Liberace? Say Elvis or Liberace? And now finally for the daring getaway, do you plan on Alan Carter flying you out in an Eagle, or is Alan Freeman behind the wheel of a Mobile? Say
Mobile.
Carter or Freeman? And finally, a bonus question. Is it mobile or mobile?
Mobile.
There we are. And that's this week's Quickfire 5. Literally time for one more question. If anyone's got a quick question, I'm going to pass it to you right here.
Mr. Anderson, I know we've been putting up with Tom Hodden's Quickfire 5 for a while, but I wondered if you would mind if I gave Richard a Quickfire 5 of his own.
Oh, go on then. Make it very quick.
Please do.
Okay, very quickly then. Officer Castle or Officer Chuck?
Well, my wife's here. Hi, Charlotte. I went to drama school with Simone Bendix, so I'm going to say Officer Castle. In a purely platonic sense.
Slow-Mo or Jamie's Robbie the Robot?
Oh, Slow-Mo any day. Hands down. Sorry, Jamie.
Would you rather live in Demeter City or space suburb Delta?
Oh, Demeter City, certainly. I know the way around, you see.
Would you rather face the snake or the cyborg?
Oh, the snake or the cyborg. Oh, the snake, you think? I'm going to go with the cyborg.
Okay. And finally, would you rather have been cast in UFO or Space 1999?
Oh, I've got the flares for Space 1999, so that's the one for me. Thank you very much for those extra special Quickfire 5s.
Lovely. Right, well, unbelievably, time has ticked away. I can't quite believe we've been nattering on for 90 minutes.
I know, again. Yeah, but the great thing is, the weekend's barely begun, has it? Yeah, here we are. So, who's coming along to the concert this evening? Yeah, there you go. Who's hanging around tomorrow to watch Life Uncharted? If you haven't seen it already, I think it's on tomorrow.
It is tomorrow here.
Who's going to see Thunderbirds Are Go this afternoon? There we go. Who's just heading back to the hotel room for a nice lie down?
I wish.
Yeah. Yes, there we are. So that's it for our live podcast. Thank you all so very much, our lovely Podsterons, for coming to see us once more. Let's have a big cheer from you to yourselves. Thank you to the lovely Wayne Forrester for joining us.
Thank you very much. And also to the equally lovely winky face Lee Sullivan.
Wink, wink.
And we all know why you really came today. The legend himself, Chris Dale.
Thank you very much.
I mean, there's lots of people wearing black down there. Are they something technical?
Yeah, I would thank you to the production team, to Ben Page, producer, to Lindsay Lee for bringing Parker, to Parker himself, and to all our friends and various other halves and supporters, and for you, the Podsterons, for coming along. That's the end of this week's Gerry Anderson Podcast Live. We'll be back next week with another numbered podcast, somewhere above 200.
Yeah.
And we hope we didn't make your ears too clammy.
Oh, how lovely. Yeah, see you next week.
See you next week.
Bye.
Stage 1 complete.
Let's go.
Spectrum is green.
You've been listening to the Gerry Anderson Podcast. Wasn't it fun?